to your health. And what if I passed when I took this blood? What are you going to put down? Mrs. X got, Miss X got this contaminated or what have you? No, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Tell the viewers and the people who you are.
My name is Paul, and I on TikTok I have got a channel called That CMS Guy.
Yeah.
And I started it about maybe 8 to 10 weeks ago, maybe a bit less than that.
Oh, it's quite recent.
Very recent indeed. And
okay.
and the reason why I started that channel is that there's an agency called the Child Maintenance System.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just both take a deep breath for that one.
And
Yeah.
I just felt really moved to do something, anything at all, to try to bring attention to the issues that the child maintenance system causes to thousands and thousands of families across the UK.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible. I mean, words can't really express what goes on for fathers and even mothers.
Yeah. And even grandparents as well.
And even grandparents as well,
Yeah.
who have cases with the CMS, which we can definitely talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like me to
Yes, please.
discuss that?
Yes,
Well,
please. Yes, please.
So the reason why I started the channel is because I had a case with the CMS.
Okay. Do you have children?
I have one son,
You have one son. Okay.
and when it was the CSA, I paid a monthly amount, but actually initially they took the money out of the account.
Yeah.
And they refused to allow me to discuss my own finances with them, how much I was earning. I had to go to court on a regular basis. So the evidence that I provided to them, they were just completely disregarding.
Okay.
And only I'm not besmirching the mother of my son, but they would only take her point of view. And obviously, if you're a person who wants to provide for your child, and they're saying, oh, he's earning this much and you're entitled to that much, you're just going to go, well, where is it then?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not about blaming women. This is about a system that is completely broken all the way through. And I went to court last year with my new wife, Karen.
Congratulations.
Hi,
Karen.
Hi, Karen. Who has, and I've got to say that I couldn't even deal with this a few years ago.
I can imagine.
Every single time I got a letter through the post, I was completely shell-shocked. PTSD is used on a regular basis, but I just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. How old is your son, if you don't mind me asking?
My son is he's 13 years old.
Okay.
And so I've been paying child support for at least 12 years, so nearly 13 years, but not quite.
Yeah.
And
so that's the majority of his life, anyway.
Most of his life.
Yeah.
Well, there was a period of time that I was unemployed, and then when I started working, they said I had an arrears of about, I think it was about £800 to £1,000, and that's the reason why they went into my account and took all the money. And then,
so without contacting you, they just without consent.
Well, actually, I contacted them afterwards, and I said I need to be able to pay my bills. I've got rent to pay, I've got council tax to pay, I can't get to work. If I can't get to work, how am I going to? They said, well, this is your responsibility. Your responsibility is to pay for your child. Now, echoing all the hearts of men out there, in England. That if you're a father who loves your child, you want to provide, and that is that's a commendable attribute for any parent to have, to want to provide for your child.
Yeah. However,
the CMS is using that against fathers.
But why do you think that is? What is their sole purpose? I mean, financial, but what is the reason why they can't make us be together, make the parents be together, grandparents be together? What is it?
So so for instance, on my channel, I did a little deep dive into poverty, and what is poverty. So poverty in the UK has traditionally been about how much you earn. So there's a thing called relative poverty. You are you are impoverished relative to your neighbours. So if you're in an area which has got low income, you have relative poverty.
Okay.
Your status of living, your standard of living is pretty similar to everybody else around you. But so poverty has always been considered to be about how much you earn. But about 12 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago, I can't remember the MP's name now, it escapes me, but the definition of poverty was more or less changed in the public perception. Now, instead of it being about how much you earn, it's to do with being a single mother. So if you're a single mother, you're considered to be in poverty, and the stats show that actually, if you have a child within the child support system, and you're a single mother, the likelihood, not every single case, but the likelihood is that you're going to be doing financially a lot better, especially if you're in fully employed as well, because you get child tax credits, you get other benefits as well, plus the CMS if that gets paid as well. So the likelihood is that financially you're going to be doing a lot better. But the government's point of view is that the definition is that you are a single parent, so therefore you're in poverty. So if you're in poverty and you're a single parent, who's to blame? It's those vagrant fathers. It's those fathers who are not in the home. Those are the ones who are at fault. But the reality is, and the statistics are, that 70% of women leave. Sorry, 70% of women end their marriages, and it's about 70% of women who are single parents. So that there's a correlation with that statistic.
Do you know, I believe you with that, because I recently found out that once you've paid child support, and this shocked, sorry people, I know I'm not supposed to swear and everything, but it shocked the rear end off of me. That, say if my son wasn't to, I've got 3 grandsons, see them for a day, she will lose out that money. So instead of him being able to see, she'd rather not let him see him and collect the money. Is that normal?
I think what you're touching on there is a really, really interesting point, because the CMS, the way that it's set up, it's supposed to be facilitating both parents to arrange finances for their 1, 2, 3, or how many children they have in an amicable, fair manner. That's what you'd expect, because we're not dealing. We're not dealing with. We're dealing with parents. On the whole, we're dealing with parents. Okay, there are going to be parents out there who don't want anything to do with their children. They don't want to support their children. They don't want to engage with the mother of the child. They don't, or the mother doesn't want to engage. But the way that it's set up is that they fully believe the mother. So the mother says, this man is earning £100,000 per year.
Oh my God.
And so therefore you have a situation where the CMS go, and this is where it gets tricky. The CMS have access to HMRC, so they know exactly how much you're earning at any time. And yet, even though they have that information, they will only believe the mother if the mother says, no, he's earning £60,000. I want to be able to get my 12% or 16% or whatever it is. And so so what will happen then is that child support will then send a letter out to the father and say, well, you have an arrears of this much because it's been calculated. And then the father's going, hold up a minute, I earn £21,000. Why am I being asked to pay like a £5,000 arrears? Where's this money coming from? And then they say, and he says, and he contacts the CMS, and he says, well, I'm not earning this. Do you have any evidence? So the father then goes, right, what evidence do I have? So he contacts the HMRC. He takes his pay slips, and then he puts it online, and online doesn't really work. So it's a bit of a fail. So it's a bit of a failing system where it may or may not be uploaded, or he sends it by post, and he says, right, I've sent you the information. Yeah, we haven't received it. What do you mean you haven't received it? Well, we haven't got anything. There's nothing on record. But I called you last week and told you. There's nothing on a telephone to say that you've contacted the CMS at all. You need to provide evidence. So now you need to provide evidence, and also because there's arrears and we think that you're not paying, we're now going to take you to court. And up until March, they would be able to take a father to court on false arrears that don't exist on the basis of what the mother has said.
And they could easily just check this.
And they could easily check this at any time. And then they will seek to put a liability order in place for a father. And that then puts that father in a very difficult situation where he must pay, otherwise it's a consequence. And what are those consequences? So a father who's on a liability order can have his passport taken away, his driving licence taken away, potentially his own property taken away. He can, or he can even face prison. So you go, well, so there's all these consequences that a father could.
Yeah.
So what that you can understand why they would want to, a number of them get out of the system. So let's talk about how many deaths there are per year.
Yeah.
There are estimated 1,000 suicides every single year on the basis of a child support assessment that's overestimated the income, will not look at the evidence that a father has to suggest that he doesn't earn that amount of money, and the CMS will completely disregard that information, causing a father to think that there is no other solution when he's earning, say, £2,500 a month, but then expected to pay £2,000 of child support arrangements with arrears and all that, leaving him with anything from £100 to £200 or £300 for that entire month. The amount of fathers who are living in cars, who are facing eviction, it's extensive, and this is going on all the time. There is so much I could say about it.
Yeah, God, it says my eyes, it does.
It's eye-watering.
Yeah. Morning, lovey. Morning. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Oh my gosh. But you know, like I said, the shocking thing is the new thing. You comfortable, love?
Oh, I'm very comfortable.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, thank you.
The shocking thing is about not if the more you pay, they're happy that way. That knocks me off, because how can you be happy that the government's looking after your children in that respect? If you've got a disability or what have you, fine. But if you've got a great father, why would you do this to him? Why?
I can understand. I think most.
I'm frustrated because I'm a grandma.
Absolutely. I think most people can understand that when a marriage or a partnership breaks down and there are children at the centre of that relationship, there needs to be a discussion about the finances, and people can understand that. I think that's reasonable. It's sensible.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable and sensible that if they can't, because, not to be disrespectful to any woman out there, but sometimes when a marriage or a relationship breaks down, there can be resentment.
Yeah.
And what the CMS kind of do is that they allow,
like, they enable it.
They enable this resentment
between
the mother and the father, with the child in the middle. So what they do is they say, and I've heard of this, if you don't allow that father to have this time, you'll get more money.
Oh.
So you might have in place that it's 50-50, or he sees the children Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, gives the child back on Sunday, but then the CMS will have a conversation with the mother and say, do you know, you could get more money if you did this, this or this.
People. Whew. Do you know?
And did you know that the CMS, when a father makes a payment, they take 20% of whatever the father earns. So whatever the father. So
for what? What is that? So
if you have one child, that's 12% of your earnings from gross. Now, what father out there pays for their children from the gross
and can't be able to see them? That's the part that knocks me off as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't you see them? You're paying this good money and you still the woman still won't allow you to see them.
Exactly. How many fathers are out there right now who are paying? Yeah, I've got people that even today I was talking to somebody, and I'll talk about it later on. But the amount of fathers who are contacting me.
Morning. Good morning.
The amount of fathers who are contacting me, and they're saying to me, I'm paying.
You're paying and you can't see your children.
I'm barely surviving.
Jesus.
I can just about pay my rent. I can just about get to work.
Eat or anything.
I've got 3 kids. I haven't seen them for 2 years. I'm paying. And they're asking me for even more money. Why are they doing this? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they won't listen to the evidence. I'm at my wit's end. That story there is replicated thousands of times.
Yeah.
And the thing is, right, that most men want to be in their child's life.
Yeah, 100%.
And two, if they can't be in their child's life, they want to support that child in whatever way they can. Now, but let's look at the narrative that's played out for fathers. If you pay, you're a good dad.
Yeah.
You're a wallet. You're a wallet because you're a good dad because you're paying for that child. If you don't pay for that child, you're a deadbeat dad.
Yeah.
So that's the narrative played out. The narrative played out for the single mother is, you're in poverty. You're a single mother. You've been left. You might have actually ended the marriage or the relationship, but you're the victim. You're the victim in this situation, and none of that is true. There is so much more complexity and grey areas in relation to how relationships break up. I mean, I was speaking to somebody yesterday, the Feminist House Bunny, who's on TikTok. She's absolutely fantastic. She's a men's rights activist. And she was just talking about similar situations about how fathers go through such
so much like that. I know, so much. It's just so painful.
Yeah.
It's so painful.
Yeah.
You know, because and the thing is, I have to be impartial, but for this topic, I can't because I'm part of it. Yeah. I'm part of it badly.
It's when I started the channel, I didn't know as much as I do now. And
in 10 weeks, you got all this research and started to put together.
There are people out there like Noel Wilcox and what's his name, Brian. Oh, what's his name? I've got to get his name. Brian. Keep forgetting his name. I'll find his name. And I'll...
Yeah, sure, no problem.
But Brian, what's his name? What's his name? He did some research into the CMS anyway. So he was an individual who was married and had a successful business. Yeah. And...
Oh, it's my next guest. Okay.
Oh, that's Sally.
All right.
That's Sally.
You can do the honours there. Just press the button.
Yeah, sure.
We're family now. You can catch us on Facebook on Love the Beat Radio, Instagram at Love the Beat Radio. Just that phone.
Downstairs?
No, just press that. Pick that phone up, just there, and press the buzzer. Yeah. Yeah. So also you can get us on Instagram at Love the Beat Radio, Twitter at Love the Beat Radio, and Facebook at Love the Beat Radio. And we haven't got a phone at the moment, but you can also contact me on Goddess Jazzy Media on Instagram Live right now and join in. And our next guest is going to come in and we're going to still be talking about this conversation. Oh my God, poor man. You know, they don't want to unite nothing. They just want to divide
and then profit off it as well.
I didn't know they were profiting like that with the 12%. I didn't know that part.
They're making something like £3 billion.
And where's that money going to then?
That question there is a very, very good question.
Yeah,
where is it going?
Is it going back into the services? Is it going to aid anything else, or is it just there for their pockets?
There are something like £3 to £4 billion worth of arrears that have been collected that are supposed to have gone to mothers. Yeah. And no one knows where it's gone.
Where it's gone. So what we need is a good old haul out of them. Do you believe that system should still be here? And if not, what should be there?
I don't think it should be there in the way that it is. I think that, personally, the Child Support Agency should be an agency that supports families, and it should have some teeth, because obviously there are going to be people who don't want to engage, but primarily it should be not financially incentivized. See, what you've got is the family court system and then the CMS, and it's all financially incentivized. That in the Netherlands, they took the financial incentive to remove contact from fathers away, and the family courts just completely emptied overnight. And then what was left was basically child care, without mothers feeling that if I take away contact, I'll get more money.
God, okay, even hearing you say it's just like, I can't believe it.
I mean, it's a strong temptation. If you are a person who is on meager earnings and you feel that you could get a little bit more money, then
you're gonna let your child or children not see your father, to see the father, because of that little bit of extra money.
I mean, I'm with you. That seems that
just-
I don't think I could do that.
No, me neither. I wouldn't, especially if you've got a good. It's a different case if there's different parents out there. But if you've got a great father that's doing all that he can and everything else, why are you doing this?
And imagine all these fathers out there, and I'm speaking to all those fathers out there now who are doing excellent jobs, working really hard, and they're all in pain. They're in great emotional, psychological pain, because the CMS doesn't just put fathers into a situation where they feel they've got no choice. They are being financially abused. So on top of not being able to see their own children, they're being financially abused as well.
Yeah.
So imagine these fathers, the workforce out there, they're going to work on a daily basis, doing the best job they can, and they feel that they failed because they're not seeing their child. But they want to do as much as they possibly can, and no one is speaking about it.
But today we are.
But today we are. Today we are.
Today we are. We're not letting it go, and we're going to keep on talking about it.
Amen.
You know what I mean? We're going to keep on talking about it. So, people, I'm going to put on a song. Ah, are you here? Hello, my love. Come in. Come and join us. Bring a chair. Come round.
Sally.
I'm going to put on a song and let's greet. Hold on a minute. Let me put on the song.
Welcome.
People, we'll be back in a moment. But I'm going to put on the song. Hold on. I'm feeling rather, yeah.
Yeah, sit down. Sit down.
Let's put down a song, and so we can
Sit, I'm okay. I'm all standing. Well, I'll be
so we can you know how the Goddess Jazzy show goes. It goes like that. It's never scripted.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here.
1 second, honey. I'm just going to put on this song so we can make you comfortable and everything. If it happens, where's the thingy now? Oh, dear. Where are you? Oh, dear me. Right, people. I hope you're tuning in. And as you can imagine, I can't get the YouTube up. Oh, dear. Hold on. No, it's not happening. Okay, maybe not. Okay, it's not happening. Who have we got here now? What's your name, my love?
My name is Sally.
Sally, nice
Burris.
to meet you, Sally.
Yeah, you
Come.
too.
There should be a chair there, Sally. Is there a... Just under here, look. Under.
Yeah.
Come on, Sally. So we have Sally here as well. We're still talking about this. I'm trying to hold my tongue back. But inside I'm fuming. I swear to you, I'm fuming. I'm smiling, but I'm fuming, yeah. Because certain things I found out recently that the more you pay, if the mother, she can have the whole week without, how can I put it? She misses one day. How did I explain it to you? I have to get it right. I just found out from a few people, young people said that she will get more if he doesn't get to see the child. What kind of normality is that? What kind of normality is that? Please, you know, I'm just thinking back in my time. It beggars belief that. Oh. Sorry, people, you know this. We keep it real here. There we go, my love.
We're just sort out the mic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was shocked. And this was from young people like my son's age group, 32 and all that. And I was just like, what? So she would rather keep that money and let him not see the kids.
The whole system is set up to support women from the beginnings of family court into the separation process, both legally, structurally for services, it's set up that way. False allegations, there's no comeback for false allegations. It is the only time that somebody has accountability for their actions is when a parent takes civil action. So it's very rare that the court will put somebody through outcomes for their false allegations. Just to be sure, one allegation can instigate up to 12 actually, but on average 7 organisations investigating that for up to 18 months. So the cost to society is massive. With the CMS, there's a push for women to be. I am the parent. I'm the dominant parent. I've got child's benefits, so therefore I'm the one that's in control as far as services are concerned. And then they step into that zone of thinking, I'm scared, I'm worried, because some mums are. They're newly single, and some mums are worried how they're going to survive. They're worried about dads stepping up and staying because there's all this massive narrative in the community. Dads may just disappear and start a new life. The actual reality is the system at pushing that dad away. The Child Maintenance Service, it sets up incentives. I can't stress how much this is a fraudulent department.
Yeah.
I can't stress how much we've done 2 years research, and the research, there's undoubtable evidence. It's not even just case studies and people that have gone through that. These are government reports. These are their own government reports that show that there's a heavy fraud going on, and I believe it's massive. I believe it's millions a year. From what we can see and we know, it's millions of pounds per year.
Paul, where does that extra money go? If you're taking from everyone, what are they doing with it? They're not putting it back into the services. They're not aiding anything. So where is it? Where is that pot?
So in 2021 to 2022, there was a £78 million debt. Okay, Child Maintenance Service said that they weren't in a position to be able to chase that debt. They couldn't afford it. Now, the structure in any financial setting at all, we have to keep finance records for 6 years. They're between 6 and 20 years in governance. Okay, that's the legislation. Everybody has to keep their financial records for 6 years. Okay, we're talking about ICO, Information Commissioner's Office. We're talking about debt management services. Everybody has to. The CMS has got an agreement that they can delete all files after 14 months.
What?
Now, in 2021 to 2022, they identified they had a £70 million debt they couldn't chase. They deleted those files before the National Audit Office could go in and see, where's this debt? Who's got this debt? Now, for me, you could surmise that 78 million, they may have collected it, there's no record of it, where's it gone? And also, who's that debt? They're supposed to be working for mums or paying parents, resident parents. So 90% of paying parents are dads and 10% are mums. So, you know, I don't want to make this a gendered thing. There's 100% of paying parents paying to what they class as resident parents. We don't know how that money's being managed. We don't know who's got in it. They're deleting files before the National Audit. I mean, this is government body, the National Audit Office.
So who right, I have to word this right now. So who can stop this?
Well, we've tried.
Who in the government, if I use that word loosely, can stop this? Can our government, can he put a stop to that?
So in March this year, the Select Committee, the Department of Work and Pensions Select Committee did a consultation to look at how the CMS was operating.
Yeah.
We Split the Difference as the organisation I run. We went to that consultation. We took parents with us. One of those was a sister of a man who had committed suicide. So they held a consultation process for paying parents and resident parents.
Yeah.
When they got back into Parliament, they know what is going on. Their own reports know what's going on, yet nobody takes control of that. Nobody takes accountability. We've taken cases, we've been doing this for just over 2 years now. We have written to every single MP in the whole UK.
Wow.
We've written to every Member of Parliament that's governing a committee that's related to the Child Maintenance Service or DWP. We've written to every single lead. We've written to the National Audit Office. We've written to the House of Lords. We've done a consultation process which had an amazing response, just under 600 parents, both paying and non-paying, the resident parents. And we've shared that data. And when you write to them, the Prime Minister will push it towards the DWP, who pushes it towards the CMS. The CMS say take it to tribunal. You take it to tribunal, it's 18 months. These are individual cases. It's like a game.
A domino.
Pass the parcel.
Yeah.
And no matter how long you do that, nobody picks it up. I mean, the damning thing for me is that you've got government reports. I would say I only work from Truth and Evidence.
Yeah.
All of us do, right? So you've got government reports between the National Audit Office, Parliament, DWP, CMS and CSA when it was CSA. You've got a history of government reports that show, their own reports that show that these figures don't add up. They show fraud. In Parliament after the Select Committee in March, it was a massive massive committee meeting, and it was filmed, it was televised, and in there the Select Committee said we have to do something about the fraud, and that was all he said. So I believe there are certain people who are saying these things and then it gets buried and nobody picks up on it and takes control of it.
This is so...
I mean, one of the reports, just to let you know, one of the reports in 2000, this is how complex this agency is. When it was the CSA, we have a case in 2006.
When did it change from CSA?
2012. So it changed from CSA to CMS in 2012. The reason it changed was they said it was decommissioned and recommissioned. It wasn't. All they did is remarket it. They used the same bank accounts, the same staff, the same management structure. Nothing changed. So in 2006, one of our dads, he received a letter saying he owed £6,000 in debt. Okay. That £6,000 he fought. It took him 2 years. He fought it. He received a big official letter saying, we have recalculated, you are right, it is a mistake. In 2018, this Serco released a press release saying, we have collected £1 billion of arrears from paying parents. Now these are false arrears. They're £1 billion of the false arrears.
Okay.
In 2018, one of the leaders of the CMS said, we have now deleted all of the files from the CSA deal. There is nothing left, okay? In 2019, a year after those statements were released, our dad from the 2006 debt had a letter on his doorstep on Saturday morning saying, because you didn't pay that debt in 2006, you now owe us 18 grand. He was marched into court. He had a forced order put, no matter, he sent all the evidence, he had it all. He was marched into court. He had a forced order placed on his property. If you miss one payment, we're taking your house off you. He's now paying £600 a month to an 18 grand debt that he doesn't owe a penny for, and he's evidenced. And that's how bad it is. So if they've deleted all their files in 2018, how did they find his debt? How did this debt materialise?
Miraculously came.
His children are adults. When he wrote to him, his children were 27. His oldest child was 27. He didn't have nobody younger. So at 20, so you can, you know,
it's heart-wrenching. It's so heart-wrenching. Oh my God.
And we've got parents dying.
Yeah.
And they've changed the legislation now. We have a private bill. They've attached the CMS to the domestic abuse legislation, and they're taking a case into court to give them, because every push in a court of law, every justification has to have a case that they quote in court. They're in the middle of doing that. They've got all of the recipe now, and we're going to see carnage. And I can't describe.
Is that to do with the liabilities?
Yeah. So
that happened in March.
Yeah. So when I'm used to delivering services. Okay, so my background is in creating and delivering procured services, government services. So when you look at the situation in the community and you look at the situation in governance, having my experience, you can see how they're stepping towards doing something, right? You think, oh, why are they doing that? Oh, I can see it, right, why are they doing, oh, I know what they're going to do now. So they put a consultation out to talk to people about how is the CMS going, what's it doing. The government has to do that. It has to evaluate what the community feels or services feel about the way a service is delivering before it changes it. If you want to do it in a negative way, you'll do that just to tick your box, okay? You won't do it for reality. They did that in March. Then very, very quickly afterwards, a certain amount of people pushed through a private bill. That is now pretty much finished, signed, sealed and delivered. They also then attached the domestic abuse to that legislation. So now they're taking a case in, and what they're doing is they've built the legislation up to argue, so false allegations and domestic abuse, and for everybody's experience in it, for reality, this is not about you, but what we know is there's a massive amount of false allegations going through family court and other areas around domestic abuse for lots of different reasons. Yeah. But what they've done is they've created this recipe now, and where they don't need to take anybody to court to take penal measures. That's not what's going to happen. It is the decision for things like taking your passport, taking your driving licence, putting somebody on tag. Those decisions now are made by an administrator.
Don't these people have a soul?
This is high-level fraud. This is multi-million-pound high-level fraud. We've got cases where dad is paying and mum's not receiving. So we've got cases, we've got case files where dad is paying the money.
And is he still being able to see the children?
No. Because they destabilise the relationship. Our questionnaire showed that 40% of parents have now been alienated from their children purely because of the CMS. They were fully functioning parents, sharing care prior to the CMS, but 46% of them now are alienated. 36% of them are saying that they see their children less. The system is set to destabilise a relationship.
Doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make
So
sense.
what's happening in society is that you're basically destroying society from within. You're deconstructing communities because you're preventing children from having relationships with their fathers predominantly. So what's going to be happening in 10, 20, 30 years time? All these children are going to be having psychological and emotional issues. And the reality is that the data is out that fathers' homes, across every developmental status has an impact. So that's emotionally, psychologically, educationally, and across all the spheres. So you're going to have children growing up with mental and emotional issues because they didn't have a father.
Yeah.
That's the destruction of society. It's profound what is happening, because when you have, even if families are broken up, having the father around is hugely positive.
Very, yeah.
For the development of that child. And if you have a child that's only developing through one perspective, so that predominantly is going to be the woman, how are they going to function in society and see things from men's point of view? How are we going to have a society that has empathy for the opposite gender? You have that by having a father and a mother in the
so what is their game? What is the CMS's game by breaking us up like this? What's their game?
Control, isn't it? It's control. And
I feel
also
like screaming.
income.
You believe me? I feel like screaming and cussing.
Brian Hudson.
Brian Hudson, we got him. Okay.
Brian Hudson. He was the one who did the research into the CMS. So he had a partner or a marriage, and that broke down. And he was quite successful. Had a business of about 2 or 3 million, and a number of different people under him, about 30 people. And then what the CMS did after his relationship broke down is that they basically looked into all of those finances from the business, and essentially just destroyed his business. And then in terms of calculating his funds, they calculated from when that business was really successful, meaning that he was literally just put into extreme poverty, had to live in a caravan. And him being the individual that he is, he looked really in depth, drilled right down into the CMS. And he's the one that exposed that there's approximately 1,000 deaths or more per year within the CMS. It's also even more elevated with women within the CMS than it is in the general population. So it's affecting men and women.
Yeah.
And he's the one he's found this data, and it's concrete data. I mean, really, it should be a national scandal.
Yeah.
But if you look it up on YouTube, there's only about 2,900 views on it.
Oh, gosh. And the thing is, you can't take them to a court because they're all in it together. So it just doesn't.
We want to.
Oh, you're still gonna?
Good. We want to. We are trying to raise awareness to raise funds.
Okay. So where would you go? The High Courts? Is it as far as that? I don't know.
We've got one of our colleagues is taking the government to court under a declaration of incompatibility, which means that the CMS legislation is not compatible with human rights. There's a section in the CMS legislation that prevents magistrates from looking at calculated data. So the only evidence that somebody can say I proved what I paid is this calculated data. But the CMS legislation prevents people going in there and showing their evidence, which then it strips them of the right to a fair trial, which is part of human rights. So he's taken the government to court under a declaration of incompatibility. We've been working on case files and people. When I started working on this, I was asked if I could support Ian Briggs, whose son took his own life due to the CMS.
What age was he? Was he a young?
He was young. He was in his late 30s with 3 children, and he was left with, from a £52,000 a year income, he was left with just over £130 a month to live off, with false debt and a false secondary income placed on his account. So when we were invited, when I was asked if we could support that, I said there was 3 things. One, we had to get justice for parents because I looked at the data and the information. The second was we needed to take the government to court to challenge the legislation because that was wrong. The third thing was to do a trial by media, because we don't have to say anything. All we have to do is show the evidence, because we don't need to dress this up. When you lay it down, it's black and white. I've done everything. I've spoken to 5 solicitors' practices. We've had 2 barristers we've met with to try and get pro bono representation on a group action to take the government to court. I don't believe there's any other way to do this. We've lobbied, campaigned, wrote to everybody. I've met with too many people.
Yeah.
CMS has now got an APPG. They are now, the secretariat for that is now with a charity that supports...
What's an APPG?
An all parliamentary group. It's where groups will be set up when there is something in society they feel needs addressing, and parliamentary members, MPs, will then formulate these groups, and they will look at this, they'll research it. We were invited initially to give a presentation there, and then they took on a charity to run the secretarial side of it, and then we were blocked from delivering the evidence that we've got. I've tried and tried. So I've pretty much given up on being able to campaign or raise awareness in terms of governance.
Yeah.
So for us now, we are working really hard to do fundraisers so that we can get justice for these parents. There are literally tens of thousands.
Yeah.
We were members of a group, 75,000 parents. That's the pool of parents that we work from. And that's just the ones that are here and now.
Yeah.
You know, so we want to take them to court.
Yeah.
I mean,
Too right and all. Yeah.
You know, why we were like, really grateful that you were interested in this
Yeah,
subject,
of course.
you
Yeah,
know?
because I'm part of it. I'm a grandma, and she's playing up with my grandson. So yeah, and it's just.
And actually, what you're touching on there is a really,
because
really
it affects
important
us as well.
point.
I'm a grandma, and it affects me. You know, I'm 52 in 4 days' time. When am I going to see them? You know, it's not fair.
Exactly. My parents. I see my son every other weekend, and also, you know, it culminated in a hearing in 2018, which enabled me to be able to have summer holidays. But up until that point, she could yank it any time.
Yes.
And it means that when I don't see my son, they don't see their grandson.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's the same. You know, we're not
She's
just,
blocked the phone for no reason.
Exactly.
Because she can have more money from my son.
And this is replicated.
It's crazy.
Out in the public, over and over again. All the grandparents. I mean, one of the special relationships that children have, and I had growing up, was with the grandparents.
The grandparents, you know.
I mean, it's vital. I mean, there's something special about. And
it
allows,
something,
it allows grandparents to have another wind of life, to be able to give and love and share all they've learned with their grandchildren, and for the grandchildren themselves to have a loving relationship with the grandparents. That's being thwarted
all the time, just taken away. As soon as we get close, as soon as I get close, taken away. It's just for our own capital gain.
I think there are other payments in here, because statistically what we know is that
But how can you give an incentive to a person, the government, as to say the CMS, and say, if you don't, you can get... I just can't. Where, how?
This makes millions. I mean, on average, because they're a profit-making agency, so they're running under a DWP, a Department of Work and Pension, but they're a profit-making agency. They're subcontracted out to private businesses that run it, and they're a profit-making agency. They're run by a business model.
Yeah.
On average, they make around 35 million a year profits out of parents, and then they gain.
Where does that money go?
It goes into their pockets.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, on average, I mean, the last couple of years, they've then taken payments from the government around about 280 million. So there's a lot of money in that service being delivered. That's without the illegal money that they're taking, and the illegal amount of money outweighs what they should justifiably take. We know that.
Jesus, mercy. Honestly.
I mean, it's bad enough having to pay from gross, not from net.
Yeah.
I mean, what parent out there pays for their children out of gross income? No one. So the government and the DWP and CMS, they're constantly making profit from the suffering of parents.
Can you imagine? And half of them are parents themselves. Can you imagine? This is the thing.
They go against debt legislation, corporate manslaughter, fraud, modern day slavery, the behaviours that the questionnaire that we put on the website
every question on there is aligned to a piece of legislation. So when the parent answers the questionnaire, what they're doing is they're answering a question to the legislation to show that they're not adhering to the law. And so the data that I've got from there is quite profound. And people just wouldn't believe. We had, there was a journalist in the first year of our research, there was a journalist who looked at the data and said that the evidence is so profound that this is bigger than Watergate. Now, Watergate shut down the American government. Yeah. And he said this is bigger than Watergate. And I feel like I want to shout and say, this is all the evidence, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you in any which way I can. Yes. Because this is wrong. Did you know that if you grow up in a single mum's home, all right, your children are more likely to take drugs, have teenage pregnancy, drop out of school, be homeless, go to prison. The list is endless. Whereas if you work up in a single father's home, the stats are completely different.
Definitely.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's definitely. I definitely believe that.
And most men who are in prison today, I think it's quite. What's the percentage? You know the percentage?
Yeah, last time I looked at it, was like 72%.
72% of them come from single parent mother homes.
Imagine. Yeah.
So what's going on there?
I can't believe. We're going to go in a break in 2 minutes. Have a little 5-minute break with the news and that, and reconvene, because honestly, I'm shaking my head inside. But I have to be professional. But inside, I'm just like.
I mean, this is something we are dealing with. I mean, I'm on TikTok if anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah,
so
definitely do.
You know, it's that
and
CMS
you must come
guy.
back again. I mean it. Yeah. You have to keep this.
Check out that CMS guy. There's loads of stuff there and also Split the Difference. We put out loads of information about the CMS, about the arrears, about the legislation, about I've interviewed Ian Briggs, whose son Gavin Briggs he committed suicide. There's so much information out there.
So what do they do once they've heard that? Once they've heard that there's been a death?
Well, we need to change attitudes towards this type of parenting, because whilst the propaganda machine pumps out deadbeat dad and allows women to just be negative towards men, or women to refuse contact on the basis of making money, it will perpetuate. I mean, that cycle needs to be broken, and I think changing people's attitudes towards it is part of the process.
Definitely so. Oh my gosh. So much I want to say. Oh my God! But I have
there's loads more to say.
I tell you, I'm just like, man. But you're right. A child does need that other. You know, my grandson was playing up, and she couldn't manage, and my son stepped in, and he was as good as gold. As good as gold.
We know psychologically. My qualifications are in therapy. We know psychologically that without a father in life, fathers bring resilience.
Yes. Right. You can now. We just had that 5-minute break. Oh, and it got heated, but in a beautiful way and an emotional way, I'd say as well. You know, but we have to keep doing something. I'm really glad that Sally and Paul are here. That you will be seeing them more regular as well, because we need to get this message out constantly. You know, So please contact us on Facebook on Love the Beat Radio, Instagram at Love the Beat Radio, and Twitter at Love the Beat Radio with any questions. Fortunately, our phone was stolen the other day, so you can't ring in. But So we were talking about child maintenance, the suicide with men, which is so close to my heart, especially mental health in men. It's a real closeness to my heart. When I started this show, it was about men with mental health, because again, it was close, because I've lost my nephew a month ago to suicide. So it really is close to my heart. So we need to be at the court when you're going, isn't it? Is it possible? You know, when you're going to the court to take them to court, is it possible for us to all be there? Is it possible?
It's a civil court action, so yes.
Oh, so we can.
It's not a closed family court. It's
good. I think we need to go. Yeah, definitely so. After my birthday, hopefully. Yeah.
We have to raise the funds first.
Oh, you have to raise the funds first. So have you got a GoFundMe page or anything like that?
So we've got a GoFundMe page.
Okay. Call it out so they know.
It's Split the Difference, and you'll find it easy. Just type in. Yeah, just type in CMS Split the Difference, and you will find the funding there. We were extremely lucky. One anonymous when
you both in,
very
yeah.
anonymous person donated £1,000 the other day,
Wow.
which literally reduced me to tears.
Yeah.
It reduced me. And when I was telling people, it was welling up. You get overwhelmed. You know,
Yes, that
because,
someone's done that. And
yeah, and because you know
listening to
this
what's
needs to
going
be
on.
done.
Oh, bless you, that person, whoever gave. We're grateful.
He was anonymous. I'm not allowed to mention his name.
Yeah.
But, if you get to hear this, then thank you.
Bless. So how much more is needed? How much is there? Can we talk about how much is already there?
So
or?
it is a costly affair because.
And what will that cover? What will that amount cover?
Okay, so
Or the fees?
Obviously I've tried to connect with external solicitors and barristers to do this pro bono. Okay?
Yes.
And I've done that for 2 years. And people, when solicitors look at the evidence, they say, "Oh my God, we'd love to help." But to do pro bono work, we have to look at what's on our cases, how we're managing. And when I say, "Okay, can we? Oh, not now. We're too busy. So I got really annoyed and not annoyed, but I got really disappointed. And then about 14 months ago, I started researching what it would mean for us to set up a legal team ourselves. Split the difference is, you know, we're a registered organisation, we're insured. And so I got in touch with the Solicitors Regulatory Authority, and I've built up a structure and I thought, right, let's do it. I can't wait for nobody else anymore.
Yeah.
The costings to do that is just over £500,000.
What?
It takes 2 to 5 years. It takes 2 to 5 years to take a group action. I don't believe taking 1 or 2 cases in will make enough of a statement. I believe it needs to be a few hundred. I've mapped this quite well to every single penny. So we've already done the 2 years research and we already have cases, and a lot of them are already legally formed. They're in legal structure. So we've assessed it to be that we would need a legal team for 2 years, which will cost us, it actually is £637,000. But for a person, if you were a parent wanting to take this yourself, the average, because this is classed as a complex case, the average cost for an individual is £15,000. So with that money we can process 800 cases. So it would be a large amount of cases that would go forward. They would then be able to, if we won, which I can't say how we wouldn't. If you saw the data and the evidence, I can't say we wouldn't. If we won, those would be a precedence then. It would so anybody that's been harmed by the CMS would then be able to litigate, and they've got the precedence behind them. So if you time £15,000 by 800 cases, it goes into the millions. You know, so it's a lot of money, but I believe to be honest with you, the last few, because I'm a bit brutal now, and Paul will tell you I'm a bit like, I understand that it's a lot of money, because if 800 parents would pay £800 each and pay their own application to court, we would be able to get this into court. And I keep saying, I know it's hard, and if I had the money myself, trust me, I wouldn't be asking anybody. I'd pay it myself, right? I would. But that money it would cost just to support us to put these cases in court is nothing in comparison to what these parents are going to be paying. I say that over the next 12 to 24 months, they literally will be carnage. There's no backup for these parents anymore. The dad who's already paying on a gross income and he can't afford to keep his second family, for example, or can't afford to live in his house, that he's done. You know, and I God forgive me to say it, but he's done. You know, so for me, this small cost is nothing in comparison what's going to happen to these parents. You know, so, and we want to raise that money. We want to take these people to court. You will see them run for the hills. We've got, when we did our research, the way that we did this was we mapped cases. So we looked at case law and what was affecting it. We mapped the cases. Then we mapped the businesses that are running this organisation, who's involved, who's leading it, their history. Then we mapped the MPs that are involved with those private businesses, what their relationship is with that. Then we mapped the House of Lords, the National Audit Office, Parliament, 10 Downing Street. We know where this is all situated. We know who's responsible. We know the leaders that could be held responsible for corporate manslaughter, without a doubt. So we just need to do it. We just need to get it done.
So we have to do a bit more GoFundMe things
so
as well.
we have a wonderful patron called Anne Widdicombe.
Anne Widdecombe.
Anne Widdecombe
Widdecombe.
raised a hand.
Oh, wow.
We love her.
We love her. She's quirky and she's passionate, and she's. I don't think she's amazing.
And I did a 50-second interview with her.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Was it?
So she is. One of our things is we're going to do an evening with Anne.
Are you?
We're going to do an evening.
So when
with
is
Anne.
that?
So we're going to set a date. We haven't done that. This is new off the press. We only found out yesterday.
Okay. And
So-
anyone can come?
And there'll be
Okay.
tickets. And
Okay.
everybody come, but they're going to get to speak to Anne. She's going to bring a book. She's
I have
going
to
to talk
come.
to everybody. And she's a really interesting character.
Yeah.
She's somebody that beats to her own drum beat, you know. I like
Okay.
people like that. So so we're going to do an evening with Anne. We're going to connect. We're hoping to connect with some other VIPs.
Where are you advertising it?
So it'll be advertised anywhere and everywhere.
Okay.
that we'll do it.
We're
So
advertising
we'll send
here.
one to you.
Okay.
We'll
Good.
send one to
Good.
you.
Good. Good. Good.
It'll be on the Split the Difference site
As well. Yeah.
And that
okay.
CMS guy as well.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Good.
Our wonderful Paul Yew, who's a
All
very
right.
up and coming podcaster at a rate of knots.
I will need to
So-
come on your show.
Yes.
And
I would
vent,
love
so I
to.
can vent.
Yeah, love to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
allowed to vent on your show?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, that's
absolutely,
good. 'Cause I need to be
absolutely.
vented.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, very much.
Oh, that's
Say,
cool.
say what you need to say.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Okay, that's good. Because on the radio you can't, because you're not allowed to swear homophobic.
I've got the
on
face
radio.
for radio,
But
I
you
know
can-
that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're broadcasting to many countries, yes?
Yeah, we're going to 186 countries. As far as the
186?
the last person contacted me from Uganda to
That's
say thank you
amazing.
so much for just
Hello,
raising
Uganda.
awareness. You know,
Hello,
just
Uganda.
having a talk. You know, that was it. So yeah.
So when we started this,
Mm-hmm.
within about 8 weeks, I had contact from Italy, America, Canada,
Wow.
Germany, and a range of other
That
countries
is-
to say, can you do this over here?
Wow. Wow. Look at that.
It's an
So it's
issue
needed.
in every single country.
Yeah, it's
an
needed
issue
everywhere.
in every country. So yeah. So I think maybe there's a
Yeah.
tweak your international.
Yeah, I hope
listeners
so.
as well.
Yeah, because everyone's going through the same thing, but in different ways, I guess. Yeah. My
Yeah,
gosh.
so-
So what is the end result? What would be? All right. Let me put a question like this. And I'm going to each ask you both a question like this.
Okay.
If you had to change something in the world, just one thing, what would it be and why? Yeah, I know. I know you got about 1,000, but you just need one. Yeah.
Over to Sally.
Okay, Sally, you go first. Think and you be thinking. Okay. One thing, Sally, and tell me the reason why. Tell us all, the listeners and everything, and viewers that are viewing in. Hello, everyone. Why? What is it?
So public accountability for leadership.
Sally,
that's
now explain why.
Because in every avenue that because I don't just work with the CMS, we are pushing a campaign out, the Violence Against Boys and Men strategy, to align with the Violence Against Women and Girls strategy. So, and the areas that we support is whole family. What we do is definitely whole family. But in all the research, I did 12 months research in the UK, and then a further 12 months, and then 5 years in different countries. And one of the things that I realised that governance doesn't serve its people. It doesn't do that through its legislation. It doesn't do it through any context, really. In fact, and it has no accountability. And the structures that are set up so that they can manage in the way that they want. And I've got this belief, which everybody should have, that we all need governance, and we need to respond to that, and we need conformity to a degree where we're all healthy and protected. But there is a layer in society that has no place to differentiate what services it gives to people. So whether you're male, female, whether you're black, white, whether you're religious, not religious, it has no place to separate anybody from the rights to those services, and yet it does.
Wow.
And if you look at the UK now, a large proportion of the UK is private business run.
Yeah.
It is not statutory run. It's health, education, prison services,
yeah.
police services. It's private run. These governments are run to deliver the services that they get paid for because they are all connected.
Oh, God.
One-
That was a great answer. Sorry. That was good.
I feel
Yeah, you
feeling
feel-
adequate now.
No, but it's what you
I would have all media be held to accountability as well. And I'd have every single media company, newspaper, and on television have to be accountable to telling the truth to the public. And if a mistruth is being proven, then there should be some checks and balances in place to to rectify that, because the whole idea about the news and the media is that it's informing people, because if you have an informed society, you have a strong society.
Yeah.
So having everybody in confusion, not really knowing the truth, that's a great way to control people, but it's not a great way to have a strong nation, I believe. So,
Beautiful answer. And my answer is, I'd love unity. Don't care what
And
colour,
unity.
what religion, I don't care if you're a dog or a
Unity.
cat, we all get together.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that one too.
Yeah.
Unity is very
Unity,
important.
definitely so. And I think we need it, because we forget that the government are working for us, not the other way around.
That's it. They
Why are
are
we going with this
elected
head that we...
by the people,
Yeah.
for the people,
But why are we thinking that
with the people.
with the
That's
people?
right. Yeah.
Why do we think that they don't work for us? I don't know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we should vote by, we should get rid of them through our vote.
Yes.
And tell them that we don't agree with
All of what
they
you've
do.
been doing.
Exactly. And the only way that you can do that is to be informed and then vote accordingly. Yeah.
Come together, people.
I
We need to
think
come
there's
together.
so much media about the Great Reset.
Yes.
But the interesting thing for me is that I'm looking at the world now and seeing that, in actual fact, the reset is we are seeing truth now. We're seeing truth about pharmaceutical management. We're seeing truth about governance.
Yeah.
We're seeing truth about legislation, leaders. You know, behaviours of corporate environments. You know, we're seeing evidence of truth, and we're seeing people saying no to that.
Yeah.
You know, I would never advocate anybody breaking the laws or anything like that, but saying no is really important.
Yes.
And finding the right way to say no, because it isn't always with voting. The voting system doesn't work, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
People don't get voted, you know, you'll get one area saying, oh, we're not going to run for that area because if we run for that area, that won't happen, and then our leaders won't get in. So there's lots of manipulation in our government. So there's other ways that you should do that, and you do have those ways.
Yeah.
You know, lots of people now are diverting to common law instead of maritime law. Common law is the strongest law that you have in the UK. And
It's
yet
valid. It's valid, yeah.
It's absolutely
Okay.
valid. Common law is the stronger law for the people than maritime law, and lots of people are defaulting to that now and actually saying, I'm not paying that. You know, the Ulease argument, I'm not paying that
Yeah.
fine. I'm reverting to common law. I haven't got a contract with you. I didn't agree to do this, so I'm not going to be enforced by the payment. And I think we have the steps to be able to say no. You just have to take them in the right way.
in the right way, yeah.
In the right way, you know. And yeah, so what do your viewers, what do they ask you for? I mean, what do they...
On normal, so last we talked about last week we were talking about like empowerment. So people will ask things like, how do you empower one to, if you're not feeling in the mood to set up a business or something like that, they'll contact me like that and ask the guest, you know, all different, whatever the topic is, they'll just contact you like that. Either by Instagram, or we had a phone but it was stolen the other day, so yeah, they're ringing, yeah.
Well, from within the
Yeah,
office.
got broken into, yeah.
Well, if you let me know, I've got some that I can send you.
Have you?
Yeah, I've got a system from my old office with lots of phones and
Great stuff.
Let me know.
Great, because it's very hard, you know.
I know, I can imagine. You
Yeah.
send me one and I will do it.
Because
I
they're
will do
ringing
it,
for,
yeah.
and then there's happy things. It's not always down me things. There's happy things as well, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
I need to
uplifting-
focus on that as
Yeah,
well.
there's, my grandson
all
came on and
doom
he was
and gloom.
talking about being 11 years old and going to school. It was a happy moment, you know.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's really
but we
cool.
talk about everything, you know, everything and anything.
I mean, some of the things around empowering women not to listen to other women who are going to help them to make wrong decisions and wrong choices.
I want us to have the back in the day how we used to have it. You know what I mean? We didn't care about colour, age, nothing. I'd see you and be like, what are you up to? Oh, why don't you try blah, blah. But these young people are not doing it. There's too much jealousy.
Do you think that social media has something to do with
A
that?
lot. Some of the times I don't even like it. I wanted to go back to the 80s where there wasn't all of this, you know? The house phone. You remember the house phone?
Yeah, I
the
do
pager.
find myself yearning back to the time where you if you wanted to find some information, you had to go to the library.
Or the yellow pages.
Or the
Remember
yellow pages.
And scroll through, you remember? But everything is too easy. And the young people, they're too easy to Google.
And the other thing is that nowadays you can have your opinion without any cost to it.
Yeah.
So whereas before you'd have to go to a forum, you'd have to go to an event, you'd have to put yourself in a situation where you could express yourself and believe in something. Now you can just online, oh, I don't agree with this, and then you can remove yourself from it and there'd be no cost to it.
Yes.
So activism has become something that you just you just say that you're an activist rather than actually being an activist.
Yeah.
And without actually there being any cost to it. And I think social media's got something to do with that.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think the children will not have what we had. If you had a good childhood growing up, like getting dirty outside and falling over or whatever, they won't have that. I think they're too mollycoddled. And I think children here as well, aside from what's happening now, are too spoiled. And then you need to travel to see it. That's why I say it. Yeah. They're too spoiled. Because you want everything. You want this and that. And there's children out there that are helping build it with their dad. You know, I've never seen a house being built before. I'm born here, but I went to Zanzibar and Sri Lanka, and I saw a father and son building a house. I was like this. What? He was coming with the clay thing, and I'm like, wow. Yeah. And I think a lot of young people need to experience things like that as well. You know,
It's
to
good for
appreciate
the
what
health
you've
as well,
got.
to be outside and to
Yeah.
be active and to have purpose.
Have a
and
purpose.
To be stretched to your absolute limits.
Yes. That's why you need to jump out of a plane, love.
So when I was younger,
And you?
I wanted to do that when I was younger, but now I feel a bit
What? What? Where's the
scared.
Scared of what? This is what holds us back. Listen, when I was in the air, I had no time to be scared. I said, you know what? Sod this, I'm doing it.
That's amazing.
Okay, yeah.
What was it like?
It was exhilarating. I was close to God. You believe me?
Yeah, I believe
the
you.
sky, God, and then anything else.
Well, you could have met him very, very soon.
Yeah, I think but it was the most,
Hold on a
especially.
minute. Hi, God.
Yeah, it was literally,
that
and
jumping out of a plane?
the air was different. You know, down here it's gritty. The air was beautiful, just euphoric. You know, but I lied to my son because he'd done it 2 months ago. I lied to him. I said, "Yeah, it was all right." Mum opened up her eyes. I didn't. I closed my eyes until I got down, and I opened it. Yeah, but if I told him the truth, he wouldn't have done it. And on pictures, you will see him opening his eyes. Mum done it. But yeah, I think
I
anybody.
think I'll do the same. I think I just have my eyes
Yeah,
shut.
you'd
I'm
be like that, but you'd miss that moment. You need to do, especially when you get to half a century years old. I don't care. I will say it. And life is a little bit better for you if you've been given news from back before, sad news or what have you. You just take the bull by the horns, man.
Yeah, I
you
think
know
it's
what I mean?
about valuing. It's about
Yeah.
appreciating rather than just
Just
being
holding
entitled.
and being and
being
thinking,
entitled.
yeah, entitled as well. Just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it.
Being
book it.
thankful. Being
And
thankful.
grateful. I was grateful, and I'm grateful. Bear with
Exactly.
me,
Thankful for every opportunity, for
Yes.
every door being open, for every
Yeah.
human being that you meet.
Definitely, I
Being
love
thankful. That's a great value.
Yeah.
The more thankful that we'd be, the less entitled
The less,
we'd be.
and the more love we give. That's the
Exactly.
thing we haven't
And the
got.
more love.
We need to give love. It's simple,
Absolutely.
you know.
So I've got a
Simple.
question for you both.
Oh, go on, Sally. Sally's got a question. Go on.
Okay, so what if you could speak to your younger self now? What would you tell them?
Wow.
Oh,
It's a common
okay.
question, but I'm really interested.
Okay,
in the
let's go.
value.
Go on, Paul.
over to you.
Okay. Right. So I'm going to think of things that were negative in my childhood.
Yeah.
Right. I used to be cursed because I had a big bum. And I used to hate it. But growing up now, I love it. I embrace it. So what I tell my younger self is, don't listen to no one. Do your thing. Get on with it. Get on with it. It doesn't matter. And if you fail, so what? Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Yeah, that's what I say to myself. What did you say, Paul?
I had a very difficult childhood. I was
Yeah.
adopted at a young age. I went through a lot of abuse. I kind of really struggled with my identity for a long period of time. You know, and I think maybe I would have been a bit, if I could go back,
Yeah.
I would be kinder to myself and I wouldn't be so judgmental about my own self.
Yeah.
I think, and also, you know, this whole idea of, I mean, there's a load of mistakes I've made that I would have go back and change, but I think I would be more loving.
But the mistakes made you who
respect.
you are.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
understand? That's what I
that's
believe.
true.
You know, the mistakes will
I
make
think
you
I'd
who
be
you
more
are.
loving, more forgiving, more merciful.
Do you think it's because you were hurt back then because of how you?
Yeah, well, yeah, and
As well.
I think pain does cause you to reflect upon, because you can think of yourself as being immortal, and then you go through some difficult things and you realise actually, you know, life is finite, and also, you know, there are things to value beyond whatever young people value.
Yeah.
And, you know, your friends, your family, and people who love you. I think these are in community. These are the things to value.
Yeah.
So I think I would have valued my family much more when I was younger, and I maybe would have made some better decisions if I'd done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, Sally, did you pose the question to us?
Oh, I didn't even think of me.
Oh.
I was really interested in. I don't. I think probably I would have been more authentic outwardly to myself. So you know, we know.
Can I change my answer to that one?
No, no, Paul. You came with it this one. You're going to deal with that.
You know, personal courage is not easy when you're young or a teenager.
Yeah.
It's something you have inside you and you don't let out. And personal courage is the thing that helps you to build resilience. So taking that, you know, telling that person, actually, I don't agree, or actually, I want to do that, or actually, this is better for me, you know, just to add,
Having courage.
and having an opinion, you know, as a young person. Young people are really cool. You know, I spend a lot of time with them, and they're really interesting now because they haven't got these barriers. They haven't got these emotional barriers. Well, they haven't, and they're really interesting. And you know, to have emotional courage and to be able to say, well, actually, I don't agree with extreme feminism. I don't agree with this kind of stuff. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. Actually, this doesn't feel right to me. What feels right to me is that we find a way to get on, or we find a way to do something, or I want to experiment, but I don't want to do that in the way that you're. You know, that sort of, so be authentic to yourself at whatever age.
Divisiveness never feels good for anybody, even if they say it does. Harmony and unity and coming together.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you know this? I was a drug worker. I was a drug therapist for about 3 years, and one of the things that really hit me during that time was that every single person that I counselled, at some point through their sessions and through the term with me, they all said the same thing. My grandmother knew that I was taking drugs and she gave me 20 quid. My father knew I was drinking too much and he bought me 4 cans of beer. My best mate knew I was sneaking off to do something. He never said anything. So everybody wants that person who's going to say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So when you get into this community and there's all these voices that seem to join and everybody's scared to actually say, don't do it. You know, don't do it, you know, because everybody who's doing it wants somebody to say, don't do it.
Yeah,
you know, and that's where the courage comes from. That's where, you know, being an individual and following your heart, following your stomach, you know, listening to that. I think this is cool. I think, you know, if you can do something. Sorry, talk too much.
No, it's good. It's good.
I get really passionate
it makes
about
us go back to our childhood.
I was listening to that. You was in the flow then.
I know. I got this thing about
lovely.
personal
And the accent is so nice as well. I just want to hear you.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's this thing about professional and personal courage.
Yeah.
You know, we all need it. You know, we all need to step away from things we know are not right.
Yeah.
And we need to
stop people pleasing if you know it's not going to help them, you know. Just be real. I always say, I give my advice to my son, just keep it real. Doesn't matter. You know?
It's when you don't, it's what haunts you.
Yeah.
Know? It's when you don't.
Big time.
I've got a 19-year-old staying with me at the moment. Her mum's in America and she's staying with me, and she went to what is a underground rave apparently. Got back into Parliament. They know what is going on. Their own reports know what's going on, yet nobody takes control of that. Nobody takes accountability. We've taken cases, we've been doing this for just over 2 years now. We have written to every single MP in the whole UK.
Wow.
We've written to every Member of Parliament that's governing a committee that's related to the Child Maintenance Service or DWP. We've written to every single lead. We've written to the National Audit Office. We've written to the House of Lords. We've done a consultation process which had an amazing response, just under 600 parents, both paying and non-paying, the resident parents, and we've shared that data. And when you write to them, the Prime Minister will push it towards the DWP, who pushes it towards the CMS. The CMS will say take it to tribunal. You take it to tribunal, it's 18 months. These are individual cases. It's like a game.
A domino.
Pass the parcel.
Yeah.
And no matter how long you do that, nobody picks it up. I mean, the damning thing for me is that you've got government reports. I would say I only work from Truth and Evidence. Yeah. All of us do, right? So you've got government reports between the National Audit Office, Parliament, DWP, CMS and CSA when it was CSA. You've got a history of government reports that show, their own reports that show that these figures don't add up. They show fraud. In Parliament after the Select Committee in March, it was a massive, massive committee meeting, and it was filmed, it was televised. And in there, the Select Committee said, we have to do something about the fraud. And that was all he said. So I believe there are certain people who are saying these things, and then it gets buried. And nobody picks up on it and takes control of it.
This is so...
I mean, one of the reports, just to let you know, one of the reports in 2000, this is how complex this agency is. When it was the CSA, we have a case in 2006.
When did it change from CSA?
2012. So it changed from CSA to CMS in 2012. The reason it changed was they said it was decommissioned and recommissioned. It wasn't. All they did is remarket it. They used the same bank accounts, the same staff, the same management structure. Nothing changed. So in 2006, one of our dads, he received a letter saying he owed £6,000 in debt. Okay. That £6,000 he fought. It took him 2 years. He fought it. He received a big official letter saying, we have recalculated, you are right, it is a mistake. In 2018, this Serco released a press release saying, we have collected £1 billion of arrears from paying parents. Now these are false arrears. They're £1 billion of the false arrears.
Okay.
In 2018, one of the leaders of the CMS said, we have now deleted all of the files from the CSA deal. There is nothing left, okay? In 2019, a year after those statements were released, our dad from the 2006 debt had a letter on his doorstep on Saturday morning saying, because you didn't pay that debt in 2006, you now owe us 18 grand. He was marched into court. He had a forced order put, no matter, he sent all the evidence, he had it all. He was marched into court. He had a forced order placed on his property. If you miss one payment, we're taking your house off you. He's now paying £600 a month to an 18 grand debt that he doesn't owe a penny for, and he's evidenced. And that's how bad it is. So if they've deleted all their files in 2018, how did they find his debt? How did this debt materialise?
Miraculously,
his children are adults. When he wrote to him, his children were 27. His oldest child was 27. He didn't have nobody younger. So at 20, so you can,
it's heart-wrenching. It's so heart-wrenching. Oh my God.
And we've got parents dying.
Yeah.
And they've changed the legislation now. We have a private bill. They've attached the CMS to the domestic abuse legislation, and they're taking a case into court to give them, because every push in a court of law, every justification has to have a case that they quote in court. They're in the middle of doing that. They've got all of the recipe now, and we're going to see carnage. And I can't describe it.
Is that to do with the liability?
Yeah. So
that happened in March.
Yeah. So when I'm used to delivering services. Okay, so my background is in creating and delivering procured services, government services. Okay. So when you look at the situation in the community and you look at the situation in governance, having my experience, you can see how they're stepping towards doing something, right? You think, oh, why are they doing that? Oh, I can see it, right, why are they doing, oh, I know what they're going to do now. Okay. So they put a consultation out to talk to people about how is the CMS going, what's it doing. The government has to do that. It has to evaluate what the community feels or services feel about the way a service is delivering before it changes it. If you want to do it in a negative way, you'll do that just to tick your box, okay? You won't do it for reality. They did that in March. Then very, very quickly afterwards, a certain amount of people pushed through a private bill. That is now pretty much finished, signed, sealed and delivered. They also then attached the domestic abuse to that legislation. So now they're taking a case in, and what they're doing is they've built the legislation up to argue, so false allegations in domestic abuse, and for everybody's experience in it, reality, this is not about you, but what we know is there's a massive amount of false allegations going through family court and other areas around domestic abuse for lots of different reasons. Yeah. But what they've done is they've created this recipe now, and where they don't need to take anybody to court to take penal measures. That's not what's going to happen. It is the decision for things like taking your passport, taking a driving licence, putting somebody on tag. Those decisions now are made by an administrator.
Do these people have a soul?
This is high-level fraud. This is multi-million-pound high-level fraud. We've got cases where dad is paying and mum's not receiving. So we've got cases, we've got case files where dad is paying the money.
And is he still being able to see the children?
No, because they destabilise the relationship. Our questionnaire showed that 40% of parents have now been alienated from their children purely because of the CMS. They were fully functioning parents, sharing care prior to the CMS, but 46% of them now are alienated. 36% of them are saying that they see their children less. The system is set to destabilise a relationship.
Doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make
So
sense.
what's happening in society is that you're basically destroying society from within. You're deconstructing communities because you're preventing children from having relationships with their fathers predominantly. So what's going to be happening in 10, 20, 30 years time? All these children are going to be having psychological and emotional issues. And the reality is that the data is out that fathers' homes, across every developmental status has an impact. So that's emotionally, psychologically, educationally, and across all the spheres. So you're going to have children growing up with mental and emotional issues because they didn't have a father. That's the destruction of society. It's profound what is happening, because when you have, even if families are broken up, having the father around is hugely positive.
Very.
For the development of that child. And if you have a child that's only developing through one perspective, so that predominantly is going to be the woman, how are they going to function in society and see things from men's point of view? How are we going to have a society that has empathy for the opposite gender? You have that by having a father and a mother in the
So
child's life.
what is their game? What is the CMS's game by breaking us up like this? What's their game?
Control, isn't it? It's control. And
I feel
also
like screaming.
income.
You believe me? I feel like screaming and cussing.
Brian Hudson.
Brian Hudson, we got him. Okay.
Brian Hudson. He was the one who did the research into the CMS. So he had a partner or a marriage, and that broke down, and he was quite successful. Had a business of about 2 or 3 million, and a number of different people under him, about 30 people. And then what the CMS did after his relationship broke down is that they basically looked into all of those finances from the business, and essentially just destroyed his business. And then in terms of calculating his funds, they calculated from when that business was really successful, meaning that he was literally just put into extreme poverty, had to live in a caravan. And him being the individual that he is, he looked really in depth, drilled right down into the CMS. And he's the one that exposed that there's approximately 1,000 deaths or more per year within the CMS. It's also even more elevated with women within the CMS than it is in the general population. So it's affecting men and women. And he's the one that's he's found this data, and it's concrete data. I mean, really, it should be a national scandal. But if you look it up on YouTube, there's only about 2,900 views on it.
Oh gosh! And the thing is, you can't take them to court because they're all in it together. So it just doesn't.
We want to.
Oh, you're still gonna?
Oh, we want to. We are trying to raise awareness to raise funds.
Okay. So where would you go? The High Courts? Is it as far as that? I don't know.
We've got one of our colleagues is taking the government to court under a declaration of incompatibility, which means that the CMS legislation is not compatible with human rights. There's a section in the CMS legislation that prevents magistrates from looking at calculated data. So the only evidence that somebody can say I proved what I paid is this calculated data. But the CMS legislation prevents people going in there and showing their evidence, which then it strips them of the right to a fair trial, which is part of human rights. So he is taking the government to court under a declaration of incompatibility. We've been working on case files and people. When I started working on this, I was asked if I could support Ian Briggs, whose son took his own life due to the CMS.
What age was he? Was he young?
He was young. He was in his late 30s with 3 children, and he was left with, from a £52,000 a year income, he was left with just over £130 a month to live off, with false debt and a false secondary income placed on his account. So when we were invited, when I was asked if we could support that, I said there was 3 things. One, we had to get justice for parents because I'd looked at the data and the information. The second was we needed to take the government to court to challenge the legislation because that was wrong. The third thing was to do a trial by media, because we don't have to say anything. All we have to do is show the evidence, because we don't need to dress this up. When you lay it down, it's black and white. I've done everything. I've spoken to 5 solicitors' practices. We've had 2 barristers we've met with to try and get pro bono representation on a group action to take the government to court. I don't believe there's any other way to do this. We've lobbied, campaigned, wrote to everybody. I've met with too many people. CMS has now got an APPG. They are now, the secretariat for that is now with the charity that supports
an APP.
An all parliamentary group. It's where groups will be set up when there is something in society they feel needs addressing, and parliamentary members, MPs, will then formulate these groups, and they will look at this, they'll research it. We were invited initially to give a presentation there, and then they took on a charity to run the secretarial side of it, and then we were blocked from delivering the evidence that we've got. I've tried and tried. So I've pretty much given up on being able to campaign or raise awareness in terms of governance. So for us now, we are working really hard to do fundraisers so that we can get justice for these parents. There are literally tens of thousands. We were members of a group, 75,000 parents. That's the pool of parents that we work from. And that's just the ones that are here and now. You know, so we want to take them to court. I mean, it's, you know, why we were like really grateful that you were interested in this subject.
Of course, because I'm part of it. I'm a grandma, and she's playing up with my grandson. So and it's just.
And actually, what you're touching on there is a really, really important point. Because it affects us as well.
I'm a grandma, and it affects me. You know, I'm 52 in 4 days' time. When am I going to see them?
I know.
You know, it's not fair.
Exactly. My parents. I see my son every other weekend, and also, you know, it culminated in a hearing in 2018, which enabled me to be able to have summer holidays. But up until that point, you could yank it any time. And it means that when I don't see my son, they don't see their grandson.
That's right.
And that's the same. You know, we're not
She's blocked the phone for no reason. Because she can have more money from my son.
And this is replicated.
It's crazy.
Out in the public, over and over again. All the grandparents. I mean, one of the special relationships that children have, and I had growing up, was with the grandparents.
You know.
I mean, it's vital. I mean, there's something special about. And it allows grandparents to have another wind of life, to be able to give and love and share all they've learned with their grandchildren, and for the grandchildren themselves to have a loving relationship with the grandparents. That's being thwarted
all the time, just taken away. As soon as we get close, as soon as I get close, taken away. It's just for our own capital gain.
I think there are other payments in here, because statistically what we know is that if...
How can you give it...
always know too much when you're older either.
You know, that's true. I still don't know.
It really depends what you've learned from when you were younger. I think. The more you can learn about who you are and about, you know, what you're really about, the better that you're going to make better decisions, not just for yourself, but for other people in your community and for your country. You know, because whilst we're all individualists, you know, you just forget about other people. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I realised that this wasn't just a persecution that was happening to me. It's happening to loads of fathers, and I thought, oh, this is wrong. This is something that needs to be challenged. I didn't know how. I'm learning as I go along. I mean, Sally and I have discussed this. I said, Sally, I'm not an expert in this. But I just realised...
you took steps. You know what I mean? You took steps to do it, which is good.
But it's just a case of like going down the rabbit hole and finding out more and more about what's going on. So there are loads of fathers and mothers who are going through the same thing, and that's what this is really about. You know, if you feel that it's wrong for you, it's got to be wrong for
someone else. Absolutely. Someone else is... I always say when you come on here as well, what you're saying now, you'll help somebody out there. Somebody who may have been too scared to say something, but they're listening. You know, they're listening. That's the good thing.
And also to give hope. You know, you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to be doing this alone. One of the things is that lots of fathers are out there. They don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be shamed. But they don't want to communicate about it because they feel like that they're somehow to blame. But actually, you know, the reason why there are so many deaths out there is because people are trying to deal with this alone, and that's what needs to be broken down.
That has to be broken down.
The walls need to be broken down so that fathers can express the pain and the hurt that they've gone through by not seeing their own children, paying over the odds, and yet not being able to see their own kids.
That thing.
The amount I have got loads and loads of fathers who are telling me on a daily basis that they have full care of the child or children, and yet they're paying the non-resident parent who's a woman. That's happening
crazy
in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I have had reams and reams and reams of this. So they have.
Doesn't she feel ashamed though, knowing that your ex is in a caravan or he's somewhere? I don't know.
We just shouldn't be treating people like that. If you're having a child with somebody, why are you happy to allow that person to be suffering because the relationship's
finished? It hasn't finished with the child.
What about humanity? What about empathy? What about empathy for your own child? Because when we attack the other parent in any way,
the child sees it and hears it.
You are directly attacking that child's identity,
and they see it. So wake up, women that are holding back these kids. Wake up! Honestly, I'm so angry.
The CMS and the way that they take money from a parent it's the only agency that will.
Does that only happen in this country like that?
No, it happens.
It happens, and the incentives as well.
There is, yeah.
How can you incentivize? How can?
I honestly believe there's a global picture of how you make money if you're in a leadership role. And I mean, politically, we know that the UK went through this in the 60s and 70s, where certain leadership said this is not about milking the country of every money that you can make from them. This is about leading, and giving people what they need. We're serving people's needs, but. The CMS is quite unique, and the reason is because the CMS is the only debt collecting agency, and that's exactly how it operates, that actually calculates based on a gross income. If anybody's got a debt with anybody else, there is laws that cover the management of that debt. The CMS calculate based on a gross income. So, and we've got parents that are paying 85% of their income to their ex-partner. All right, 85%. That's currently on our books. So they will collect on a gross income. Now, when the woman receives that money, okay. If she's on universal credit, she could be taking home 1,000, 1,500 off this ex-partner. She doesn't have to declare that money. It doesn't affect her universal credits. It doesn't affect anything she gets from benefit. It's not calculated into her income. Now, I have a theory that I'd love to test out, right? And we're looking for a forensic accountant. My theory is that is set up because when you have a man and a woman, a husband and wife, paying parent, resident parent, and the income from him is calculated as a gross income, and whatever he is about to pay her, okay, it's almost like a sundry income. So we'll put that to one side because she's getting, maybe she's working full-time or part-time, maybe she's on universal credit, maybe she gets help with her rent. But whatever she gets off him doesn't affect what she gets. Now, that environment there, if I'm Mr. Manager and I'm really bad, and I'm a really bad leader, I'm thinking, I'm going to systematically break down that relationship, right, for lots of different reasons. I'm going to tell her that he's not paying when in actual fact he is. She's going to hate him. She's going to do all of these things.
Coming to life, this is.
So I'm going to do that, and then she's not going to really struggle because I've already said she can claim universal credits and housing benefit, and this is £1,000, £1,200 top-up she's having above everything else. This is why women are incentivised, because they can work part-time 16 hours, get the universal credits, any money they get from their dad.
Because you've put the nail on, because it makes sense now.
So now I'm the leader thinking, where am I going to get my money from? Well, I've just broken down that relationship. She's getting universal credits and can survive anyway. She's having the minimum income coming in. She's fine. I can now look at him and think, I can just milk him or her. I can just take that money. Nobody's going to worry about anything because she's getting money anyway. It's not calculated to her. So some women, I've got a dad who's a company director and brings home over £80,000 a year. And his partner's working full-time, and not part-time, and on universal credits. and he pays £1,000 to the mortgage, which is not included in the calculation. CMS refused to accept that he's paying the £1,000 mortgage for her, and then on top of that he's paying £1,200 a month to her CMS because they've said he's got to. She is getting double the money that he gets, and he's got his children 50% of the time. And that's how bad. And literally, these cases can be like a rolling 75,000 program of evidence.
And they will not look at the evidence that they already have.
That's the thing about it. Why are you still trying to milk?
So you can see the corruption there. They have the information through the HMRC, don't they?
Yeah.
And yet they will not look at it, and they'll keep telling fathers, we don't accept this. The calculation that we put in place, we're going to stand by it.
So they're supposed to calculate based on the last HMRC year, right? Our consultation showed that some parents, they were what we call cherry picking the years. So we've got some parents that they are still calculating their what they are meant to pay from 2016. They've made formal requests for reconsiderations, recalculations. They've challenged that, and they refuse to pay their latest year because it's like a third less in income. So they're cherry picking the most profitable year for that person.
It just sounds horrid. It sounds horrible.
I mean, this is like, we're talking 7 years ago.
My God, it sounds horrible. It just, it's so close to home and it's horrible.
If you got a 25% change in your income, you make a formal request to have your income recalculated, okay? They're just point blank refusing. They just get a no. I've read all the messages on people's files, no. But it's, it's part of your guidance. No, we're not going to do it.
It's really, really corruption.
So that is systemic financial abuse.
Yeah, it is.
And you know what I wanted to ask? If you're paying, let's say it's an ideal world and the kids are seeing the father and you're paying the child maintenance, should you still give that child pocket money? I said no. I said no to my son, no. When it was a little bit okay, I said no. Because the money that you're giving is enough for him to carry,
That's what you're supposed to be doing. But I mean, if you want to, I always say,
because it is enough, literally.
That's what you're doing. But I think there's a lot to be said around actually coaching mums or informing mums. I think on how, But
the question is, are they going to listen? Especially the younger women, the younger mums now. They think they know everything.
Just give me the money. Give me the money.
It's all about money. It's all about, I want them to look like this, that. There's no other.
What parents should be taught is child development.
Yeah.
And the impact of not having both, and both being compassionate to the other person, because you all of this stuff around the money is just it's neglecting the child at the centre of it, or the children, and then that's going to have a knock-on effect in the future. So what really should be happening is we should be teaching young mums about child development and the impact upon certain behaviour, such as parental alienation, being negative towards the other father, preventing contact, and what impact that has long term. Because if you're a mother, you should be compassionate towards your children.
Yeah.
And then that's the main thing, isn't it? The father, men out there who are, doing things that they shouldn't be doing. We don't condone it, and it's wrong. And fathers should have an active part to play in their children's life, and that should involve finances without being financially abused.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't excuse abusing the child through abusing the father through the child.
Yeah.
Doesn't excuse that.
They always say hurt people, but honestly, it's very horrible. It's very horrible. But how do we get the young parents or because it could be a man or a woman, a young guy.
Oh yeah, it's not. Sometimes it could be the father who's causing.
Because I know of a young guy who's been left in the situation where the mum isn't thinking. How do we get them to listen? Because they don't listen. Like back in the day, we'd listen. They just don't listen because they've got this know-how thing that who are you to tell me? You know what I mean?
I might be speaking from ignorance, but I think part of it's to do with ideologies. If you have ideologies that are anti-male, complete independence, complete individualistic, then you're going to think that you don't need this, you don't need men, you don't need society, and all you're going to do is you're going to bring up your child in a hostile environment, and then wonder why your children's got bad behaviour.
Yep, definitely. Definitely. Oh my gosh.
I know this because I'm a qualified social worker as well.
Oh, okay.
I practiced for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm not practicing at the moment, but
Yeah.
I know child development.
That will be the result of it, and you've hit it on the head for me. Definitely so. Wow. So how do we get them to? I don't know.
Sally.
Yes. Mama Sally. Today you're Mama Sally. How? You know.
I honestly believe it's about educating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Grassroots
think,
stuff.
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, there's
Not bring them back to
nuggets.
basics.
Well, not
Kinda?
really, not really,
No?
because the science has moved on greatly. You know,
Yeah,
so neuroscience,
immensely.
for example. You know, I always tell everybody this, mostly because I want dads to know this. Okay,
Yes.
but neuroscience has moved on greatly. When you and I had our children,
Yeah.
there was a different ball game. We were
Definite.
told, our mothers told us, you know, nurture, nature. This is down to
Yep.
you, ladies. You're the one that's got to get up in the middle of the night.
Yep.
Your husband won't know how to deal with that child
That's
the
it.
same way that you will. You've carried this baby for 9 months. Your body's changed. There's all of these entitlements. When in actual fact, neuroscience and research tells us differently now. So, and I'll just give you a snippet.
Please
'cause
do.
This is so cool. There's a 10-year study that was done in the US and there's a 10-year study that was done in the UK, right? And both of the studies were slightly different, but both of them were looking at parenting. Now, the one in the US took a group of parents who were first-time parents, and they did while before they got pregnant and during their pregnancy, and then after the pregnancy, they did lots of tests on these families,
Okay.
physical, biological tests, you know, brain scans, emotional response, you know, and behavioural tests. What they found was, as soon as a father has a child, within 2 weeks, his testosterone levels drop.
What?
He will never ever regain.
That's why I painted my nails.
He will
Where are you
never.
from?
He will never ever gain that testosterone level again.
Don't lie. Oh,
well,
God.
I'm going to speak Arabic then. He was going
have to be-
to. So his testosterone levels dropped, okay, and that then restructured his brain, and it changed the points in his brain, one particular area. And when mum's carrying her baby, obviously the biology changes for us, and our body changes as well, and so does our brain. Okay, so there's triggers. Now, within 2 weeks, that changes for dad. Okay, and it will never go back. Now,
At all?
No, never. It never goes back. And there's some really quirky things about this research. Okay. So the quirky things about this research are they did a lot
So
of
you
testing.
have to see my face.
Sun's out, guns out.
I know.
You see these swans? They're sick.
That's why these poor guys go to the gym a lot after
No,
a certain
God,
length of
that
time.
is- Yeah, well, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
it's cool. So what they did in the exploration of this is they had the parents they had were heterosexual parents, first time, gay, lesbian parents, adoptive parents, and foster parents. So they were the spectrum of parents. So within 2 weeks, testosterone levels drop. The interesting thing about it, even with foster parents. So even with foster parents or adoptive parents, the same thing happened. So it's just the choice to parent that actually instigates that physical, mental, and emotional response. In the testing, they did quirky things like they got recordings of 10, 15 children, and then mum and dad were tested on how they could identify within the first 2 weeks their own baby's cry. They measured and evaluated that between mum and dad. Mum and dad had exactly the same responses, exactly the same times, no difference. You know, there were lots of other things as well about responding, nurture, whatever, and all of that. Now, that study was incredible, you know, and the data from that is incredible. Now, the other study in Oxford University, which was done by Anna Machin, she's an anthropological psychologist. So she looked at the development of children in the care of their fathers and how that impacts on children. So hers was quite slightly different.
Okay.
So she looked at things. I mean, she's an author, published author. She's got amazing TED Talks, which are really interesting. But she looked at the role of a father as his children grows, and what she determined, the dominant thing in that is that without a father in place, children don't build resilience.
Yeah.
So things like you ask
Rough and
yourself-
tumble.
yeah, it's rough and tumble. So, you know, when mums are telling their husbands off, saying, because he's just said, right, you okay? Okay, right, suck it in, come on, jump up. That is really important. It's really important for children to be able to fall down, hurt,
Yes.
scream, cry, feel humiliated,
Yeah.
but get up, you know?
Get up, yeah.
And when we look at prison figures, which last time I looked was 72% of prisoners didn't grow up with a father. The resilience of life hits people, and they can't revive themselves from that. It's quite impossible. And
it's
so
damaging, huh?
it's very it's
damaging.
really damaging. And I think, but the thing for me that hit home for me was that your husband or partner is more than equipped to deal with parenting, nurture, taking care of the children.
Yeah.
I mean, the key thing for me, the area of the brain that changes for the dad because of this testosterone, this biological chain, is the area that controls fight, flight or freeze.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when they evaluated him, the only difference that they could see that were between mum and dad in parenting and taking care of kids was that father had a heightened protection. So fathers were more likely to go that extra mile in protecting their children.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It
I
makes
can relate
sense.
to that.
And
Yeah,
I think
it makes
women need to know this stuff because
Yeah.
our mothers and our grandmothers say it's all down to you.
Yeah.
Lady, it's all down to
Yeah,
you.
we
You're
carry
the only
that
one who
load,
feel
yeah.
your kids. You know, you're the only one who can look after and nurture and make them
It's
feel
a
better.
joint effort,
But it's
definitely.
not true. You know, women bring other things.
Yeah.
You know, mothers bring other things to children.
And I think
Yeah.
we need to. I think we just need to celebrate that. You know, motherhood and fatherhood, and
Just
recognise,
important as each other's, you know? Yeah.
bring different things. And you, what you're doing is you're creating a whole person by having the two aspects of womanhood and manhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meshed
Yeah.
together, yeah.
Taking one out of the equation does some damage to the children at the centre.
It's so true.
I mean, Anna Matchin said that one of the significant things that fathers bring to their sons is they teach them boundaries around their strength.
Yeah.
And because men and boys are very powerful, and without understanding who they are and how
Goodness gracious,
you know,
yeah.
they
sense now.
really
Constantly in arm wrestles with my son. Constantly, he's constantly wrestling me. Got me in a headlock.
yeah.
Is he tall?
He's taller than me now.
than
He's
you.
13.
Wow.
He's taller than me. It's constant.
It's really
Yeah.
important it is. And
But it's actually, but I know that he gets a lot out of it, and I
Yes,
did
yes.
too. I used to wrestle my dad constantly.
Yeah.
And it was me just seeing how strong I was, because I couldn't do it to my mum.
Yeah.
But with my dad, I was like, right, you're strong.
Come and take this.
Yeah, exactly. So every time I see my son, it's just arm wrestles, bear hugs, and all that kind of stuff. It's great fun.
and
It's really important. It's really,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
important.
self-regulation is
Yeah,
very important and
yeah.
understanding.
And it
your
makes
power.
young men, young boys, young men happy. Makes them very happy.
Makes
Because
them
it's the way that they cuddle their dads.
Yeah, and walk. Because my one is my son's 6'4", and Kyron is on his shoulder, but he went to the gym for the first time and he was happy.
Yeah.
Just being in the gym with his dad, just them two, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So women out there,
Understand your men.
understand them.
Understand
And when you
what they
break up,
bring.
just break up. There's 10 million men out there. So you can take mine. Go on, take them.
That takes you to another story. I
That's
think.
another story.
That's another story. Though. That's another story.
That's about narcissism, and you better come back in there for about that. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
people, we've got 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 minutes, what lasting factor do you want to say to anyone out there, or everyone out there, should I say?
I would say that to mothers out there, try to look beyond the disappointment, the hurt, the pain. Everybody understands that breakups are difficult, but when you place your pain and hurt and disperse it through your child to hurt the father, you're only hurting your own children.
Yeah.
You're only hurting them in the long term, because naturally children will always want to know their parents,
Yeah.
male, mother and father. Being a social worker, I've seen countless children being on care orders, and as soon as they're able to, they seek out the other father, the parent they haven't been able to see. It's inherent, it's inbuilt, and as a Christian, I believe that God points children's hearts towards their parents. It's set there. It's a divine thing. So when we mess with that, we're messing with the children. So I would implore all women who are listening, have compassion on your children,
Yeah.
and try to deal with your own hurt and disappointment of the breakup privately, and not use the child as a weapon if you can. Fathers, do your level best to be compassionate to the mother that is, who's the mother of your child. Try to communicate with her. be gentle as best as you possibly can, and always place the child at the centre of everything.
Yeah, that's lovely. And also, men, try and speak to someone. Doesn't matter, even if it's a stranger on the road. Let suicide be your last thought, not the first. Yeah. And for you, my dear, of our last 9 minutes.
I think the message is that, you know, family is really important, and when you end a relationship, whether you choose to end that relationship or not, you will go through a mourning period.
Yeah.
There will be around 2 years when it's a new beginning, new ending, and your emotions are all upside down, and that's mums and dads.
Yeah.
You know, even those who choose. And I think being kind to yourself and allowing you to experience that feeling of loss, even if, you know, you're the person that's done it, that doesn't make any difference. Yeah. Allow yourself to experience that period of loss, and when you move forward and you choose new relationships and you go into them, consider the way that other person is going to come into your life. Because what I find with the mums I work with is they find it very difficult to deal with two men.
Yeah.
And they tell themselves, my children have got a father figure. They don't need that connection with their own dad. I'm giving them what they need because I'm giving them a new father figure. And that's wrong, okay? And the reason this is wrong is because what we know is there's a large percentage of children will go and seek their father or their other parent when they are able to do that. When that happens and they're deprogrammed around what that relationship was when they were pushed out, they often then turn on the parent that's done that. And so you're signing your own death warrant.
Okay.
And one of the triggers to know is that when you're approaching a new relationship, if that man or woman is starting to say negative things about the other parent, your ex-husband or your ex-wife, your ex-partner, that person hasn't got your children's best interest at heart. And you need to ask yourself, can this man blend? Can we have blended families? Does he respect my ex-partner and his right to his children? Or does she respect my ex-wife and her rights to the children? And because you were the one to set that rule up, and whether you like it or not, you were supposed to parent those children until they're adults. That's your job, and you can't play with that, and that's all there is to it. There's a line. So just consider these things, you know, consider your own rules. What are my rules going to be? This is one relationship ending. What have I learned from that? What are my rules going to be around my children? I need those rules to be okay, because no matter what, these children are mine.
That's it.
You know, and anybody that respects your children respects you.
Respects you.
You know, so
Powerful.
so that's me.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah, you. Now I'm going to put it a little bit lighter, just before the few more minutes. What would you rather? Now, just think, okay, let me use this £10 million here, or being age 6 with all the knowledge you've got now. Which one are you going to choose? The 10 million? So Jazz is going to say, Paul, here's 10 million, or being age 6 again with all the knowledge. Which one are you taking?
Do you know what I said about mothers not just thinking about the money? No, in all seriousness, I definitely would have. It's not just about having knowledge; it's about having wisdom.
Okay.
So, knowledge is knowing that what is it? Knowledge is that.
So all that you've learned, from all up to now, and you're only 30. So all of that until now. Or that 10 million, which one is really saying to you, take me? I'd
have the knowledge of. I would have the knowledge.
You go back really truly from your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've thought about that myself. You know, if I knew now what I knew back, then, there's a whole bunch of things I would have done differently. Okay. I would have said different things to myself, and that's important. Your own self-talk, what you tell yourself. You know, be kind to yourself, people.
Okay. Sally.
No, I take 10 million. I don't think about it. And the reason I would take 10 million is because every single parent
honesty is the best policy.
Every single parent that had ever been harmed by the CMS, they would be going into court with me.
Okay.
That £10 million would be for that.
Okay.
It would end a lot of suffering. Definitely.
Yeah, it would definitely.
Thank you for your honesty. And I'm sorry I haven't got the real 10 million, but I just wanted to see where your heads were at.
I'm disappointed.
Well, every chance, right?
Everything that you experience is for you.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to go through, even good or bad, you're supposed to. That's how I look at it. I think God sets its way in there. Certain things I look at and I think, I'm supposed to have had this. I'm supposed to have done it. So you know,
Yeah.
deal with it, innit?
Yeah. And it's also about looking. It's not just about your individual self. It's about other people.
Yeah.
And it's about looking. Justice is about not just justice for you, but justice for all. And if it's not justice for you or for me, it's not justice at all.
Yeah.
Because it has to be blind and it has to be for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's important. Yeah.
One of some of the greatest things that we experience or learn from are the toughest things we've ever had to go through.
That's why we've got the experience.
When I'm counselling people and they get through the other side, and you ask them, what was the benefits of that to you? Would you change that? And a lot of them will say no.
No.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from going through court. Would I've gone through that? Would I've gone through some of the things that were said and all that? No, I wouldn't. But it did make me a much more resilient individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also it made me very focused upon my own son. I didn't care about what was being said about me. I cared about what impact it would have on him.
Yeah.
So it made me realise, and for fathers out there, you're a lot stronger than you think you are.
100%. You heard it here. 100%. So we have 3 minutes. Let's give you a quick fire answer. I feel like I'm on the chase. What's your favourite colour and why? Mine's blue. Don't nick mine. It makes me happy.
Have you there's a pattern here. Every
I'm
time
telling
he's not
you, he
sure,
just
he'll
pushes
shift
it
to me.
over, I know.
He gives him a 2 minute Because actually it's yellow. You're wearing it. That's why I was attracted to you.
What does it do? What does
yellow.
it bring to you? What does yellow do for you?
It just empowers me.
Does
it changes the frame of mind.
That's lovely.
Did you know different shades of green impact on you psychologically? It's why you're going outside, and it's literally specific to different colour greens.
Is it?
Colour is so very important to you.
Chlorophyll.
Yeah, so go on, Paul.
Yeah, go on, Paul.
Are you
Go
ready
on.
for this?
Yeah.
I'm an adult. I don't have a favourite colour.
What?
I bet it's blue. Every
I'm
man
not
Isn't it
lying.
love blue?
Yeah, men love blue. Hence the shirt.
Yeah, you got blue
Yeah,
on,
you've
so
got
maybe
blue
it's
on.
blue.
If I was going to choose a colour, I would say, blue.
Blue, why? What kind of emotion does it evoke for you?
I think confidence and it's relaxing.
Yeah?
Yeah, confidence and
Sorry, the whole place.
confidence and calmness. And I would
Yes.
definitely agree that going outside, looking at the trees, there's something in your eyes. I don't know what it is, but it reacts to the green in leaves, the chlorophyll, and causes you to be calm.
That's going to make me look more now.
It
I didn't know
definitely
that,
does.
so I'm going to look more.
I used to do colour therapy. It's incredible.
Oh,
It's incredible.
she's a jack of all trades. That's why she has to come back again.
So
Isn't
much.
it? You must. And you will help empower again. There are young girls that are listening to this. They might not show their faces, but I know they are listening.
Yeah,
and it's
and I think
needed.
the more we talk about this, the better we can have
Keep going on about it.
Exactly, have a better
impact them.
society.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Did you know that the age group of between 16 and 24 is the largest age group for women to become Muslim in their own right? So when you
Joking,
honestly,
it's
it's that age group, and I believe it's because women are saying, I like my femininity and I like who I am.
I'll be back next week.
Wow.
Over. Done. No, that's all right.